The Great Firewall of China is a label coined by Wired magazine to critically describe an organized effort by the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, to monitor internet usage and censor material offensive to them, officially known as the Golden Shield Project. The label alludes to both computer security and the famous Great Wall of China, erected in the 3rd century BCE across the historical northern Chinese border. While the Great Wall was used specifically to defend Chinese citizens from foreign aggression, the label of Great Firewall is used ironically to describe a system enacted by the CCP to police the Chinese people. The CCP maintains that the so-called Great Firewall is used to protect the Chinese people by censoring pornography and protecting state secrets. But dissenting Chinese citizens and skeptical foreign observers believe the Great Firewall to be an oppressive tool used to protect the CCP from being overthrown. China has had a communist totalitarian government since Chairman Mao established the People's Republic of China in 1949, and the Great Firewall, whatever its intended purpose, is a modern manifestation of its will to control the Chinese people with an iron fist. The CCP has tried to maintain power through restricting its citizens' knowledge of Western ideas like capitalism and civil liberty, but its control over the free marketplace of ideas began to wane in the 1980s, when it permitted a job market to form, making the Chinese Communist Party only communist in name. Its power was threatened further when China gained access to the internet in 1994, enabling private citizens a form of individual power to learn more and share ideas. The CCP became afraid that the opposing Chinese Democratic Party, CDP, would use the internet to spread dissenting messages and ally the Chinese people to their cause of demanding economic reform and civil liberties. The CCP disbanded the CDP and arrested its members, but wanted a more lasting solution to keep CDP ideas from spreading. Their solution was to restrict the content Chinese citizens could access online. For example, knowledge of the Tiananmen Square protests in 1989, in which the CCP massacred CDP protesters, is impossible to obtain. Searching for it heralds nothing. This censorship is a main part of the Great Firewall of China. According to Chinese Ambassador Jiang Yu, its purpose is to maintain a good internet environment and to safeguard public interest. While the United States has private enterprise enabling citizens to access the internet, Communist China hosts all the data centrally in Beijing and makes citizens acquire the internet from the government. This gives the CCP a stranglehold on what Chinese citizens are able to do online. All input is monitored by 40,000 internet police officers, and citizens using the internet to reveal information believed to represent a threat to the CCP can be identified and may be harshly penalized, as with reporter Shi Tao in 2004, who threatened the CCP's international reputation by emailing a list of censored search phrases to a pro-democracy website in the United States, and he was sentenced to 10 years in prison as an example, ultimately serving 8 years and 6 months. Amnesty International says that China has the largest recorded number of imprisoned journalists and cyber dissidents in the world. Typically, the CCP maintains its control in technical ways in the Great Firewall. In 2009, the CCP ordered that all computers with Windows operating systems would need to have content control software called the Green Dam Youth Escort. The Green Dam Youth Escort's nominal function is to restrict minors' online activity to keep them from accessing pornography, but it also enables the CCP to spy on the PCs and supplement the internet censorship. The software also contained a major security hole, allowing internet hackers to take advantage of its surveillance function to let them spy on people. Probably because of this, the CCP later loosened the restriction, allowing private PCs to go without the software, while public PCs are still required to have it. The business responsible for the software has since gone under, but most Chinese computer manufacturers continue to ship PCs with the software pre-installed, so most people end up with it anyway. An adjunct to the Great Firewall of China introduced in 2015 is the more aggressive Great Cannon of China. Similar to the NSA's Quantum Insert attack tool, the Great Cannon is intended to knock websites deemed threatening off the internet. It identifies foreign internet traffic and redirects it to its targets, hitting the site with so much traffic that its servers can't handle the load and it goes offline. This is known as a denial of service attack. One of its first targets was GreatFire.org, a United States website dedicated to determining which websites the Great Firewall censors and offering Chinese citizens ways to circumvent it. Despite the attack in April, GreatFire.org is back up and continues to function today. So you might think that China suffers from so much censorship that its citizens are completely helpless and cannot even remotely talk freely on the internet, but you would be wrong on that point. The internet is a reservoir of human cleverness, and the Chinese internet is no different. It may be largely closed off from the global internet, but the Chinese internet is a microcosm reflecting its larger counterpart. The CCP blocks American social media sites that refuse to restrict their content in line with the Great Firewall, and there are many Chinese equivalent sites such as Baidu to serve the same function as Google, or Weibo to fulfill the same purpose of Twitter. Though these sites are censored, Chinese internet users manage to hold honest discussions using spelling alterations and a clever assortment of puns. Because the CCP uses the phrase harmonious society as a euphemism for censorship, Chinese internet users refer to the censorship using the written phrase river crab, based on a pun where river crab and harmonize are pronounced similarly. The label has evolved to the phrase aquatic product. Using this kind of wordplay and reference to wordplay, dissenting Chinese can avoid the CCP harmonizing them. There is an old revolutionary joke that goes, sure, the government reads your mail, but it has to read all of your mail. The sentiment applies to the digital age. Key phrases are blocked under the Great Firewall, but clever internet users find alternate ways of referring to the same thing, and CCP agents have to read through all the data that millions of people produce to even try to put patterns together and crack the code. The 40,000 some internet police officers get bogged down in irrelevant data, and the dissenting internet users stay one step ahead of them. Chinese society is not socialized to revolution, and the dissenting internet users represent the outliers. In studying the users' subculture, I found them very similar to 4chan, the vulgar and unruly US forum that produced hacktivist group Anonymous. This stands to reason, as 4chan is an extension of the Japanese forum 2chan, and Japan and China have similar cultures. Among other things, 4chan is known for its creation and distribution of pornographic art, and the Chinese dissenters similarly generate pornography as part of its opposition to the CCP. An example of this is representing the Green Dam Youth Escort software as a cute young woman wearing a river crab emblem, who is frequently depicted as a sexy rapist, preying on a female representation of Windows, as being sexually dominated herself in an expression of defiance against the Great Firewall, or just being sexy because sexy women are popular. This pornographic culture makes the CCP's insistence that the Great Firewall is used to protect minors from pornography less of a misdirect than Americans may think. What it comes down to is whether or not the CCP should censor pornography or things threatening to its regime. Whatever happens, it will most likely be handled internally. Michael Lanti describes, "So what's the future? After all, we are the mouse. Whatever the future is, we should fight against the cat. We Chinese fight for our freedom. You just watch your bad cats. Don't let them hook up with the Chinese cats. Only in this way, in the future, will we achieve the dreams of the mouse. That we can tweet anytime, anywhere, without fear." Though it is in the nature of Americans to want to play cowboy, the Chinese don't want foreign intervention. It may be that viewing this through the lens of revolution at all represents some Western bias. Min Pei suggests, despite popular images of people power or the Arab Spring revolutions, the single most important source of regime change in authoritarian regimes is the collapse of the unity of the ruling elites. Maybe the end of the CCP is inevitable, whether by introduction of capitalism, cultural revolution, or the emergence of new powers, but it will be handled from within.